Now, Eric, with about the 25 minutes we have left with here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a few people that I have certified as being not crazy. I hope they don't let me down. And they're going to be able to ask you a question. The way it's going to work, if you don't want to answer the question, you can punt, and then I'll throw myself under the bus. But they should ask reasonable questions. So I'm going to bring up Randy Antrican. Can you come up here, Randy? Randy runs a company called PMH. It's a home outdoor living. He builds pergolas, pavilions. This is Randy Antrican. It's a very successful company. He's grown, I think, 8 times since we first met. He's rocking and rolling. PMHOKC.com. What question? I'm going to pass the mic to you. Just make sure you eat the mic. What question would you have for Eric Trump, sir?
Wow, on the spot, really. What's your style of managing people? I mean, how do you handle a tough situation with employees?
Well, I think it depends. It may be the toughest question. What we try and do is we try not to micromanage. If you have somebody who's immensely competent, that's the person you want in your organization, and let them do their job and let them do it well. Not to say that you can't look over budgets, not to say that you shouldn't be present, and we're incredibly present. You should set very high expectations, but get very good people, and try not to micromanage very good people, right? I mean, very good people don't want to be micromanaged, and very good people don't need to be micromanaged, and that ultimately gives you a lot of bandwidth. And it's been probably the biggest key to me, right? Especially as we got into the political stuff, and I was trying to run a massive company while trying to campaign every single day, and you're just running out of hours. If you had to make every single decision on a property level, you couldn't do it, right? There's a certain point where you have to let go, and it's hard. We're all, every single one of us is a control freak. Every single one of us in our minds can do something better than the others. You want to be the person that makes that decision, but at the end of the day, you hold somebody down who's otherwise incredibly competent. You're making them worse. You're making yourself worse. You're making it impossible, to grow. So much of that equation is you find a great person and you let them, you inspire them, you build their confidence, you set really high expectations, but you let them fly. And if you're not willing to let them fly, you're going to lose them, right? I mean, that becomes very, very old every single day when you're, listening to a boss, when you're arguably in a better spot to know the details of a project, of a business than they are, because you're closer to the ground, as that person has to fly high in managing a company and you're managing a specific project. So great people.
Yeah. Follow-up question too. You said you like to promote from within. That's kind of my philosophy too. How long do you need to see someone kind of just like crush it and stay consistent before you're like, man, I've seen enough. I know they're the right person.
Ideally, as long as possible. But unfortunately, in the real world, you don't have that luxury, right? Sometimes you see somebody absolutely crush it for a year, and then you give them that opportunity because you need a position filled, and that's better than going from the outside. Take the person who's absolutely crushing it every single day for a year over the person who gives you a nice resume that you've never met before, right? Every single time. Don't even think twice. It's really nice if you see somebody who crushes it every single day for 5 years and you know absolutely everything about them, and that whole variability is out. Unfortunately, that's not always how the world works, right? And so you're probably seeing that. I imagine you've got project managers who are great, and I imagine you have project managers who are bad. I imagine you got guys who are detailed and will leave a job site every single night, and it's immaculate when they do, and you probably have guys that are slobs, and you're constantly trying to fight them. There's probably guys that ruin your work truck, and there's probably guys who will go get them, washed at the end of the week, right? And take that in and promote the good ones and try and build the other ones, right? Or try and set an example to build the other people. Some people just can't get there, right? And take really good care of the people who can, and let them manage some of the other ones, because they're also going to set expectations that you don't otherwise have to as a boss, right? So sometimes your people can actually help others grow faster in the organization than you otherwise could, because you're always going to be the guy who owns a company and you're going to come off as the curmudgeon, right? And it's all about your bottom line versus allowing a coworker to otherwise inspire good habits. And so that's at least how I look at life.
Now, just to kind of set the pace, we're going to do 6 more questions. And Vanessa, if any of our kids want to sneak in a question, we can pull that card. So you can feel free to do it. Randy, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you very much. All right. And now I'm going to bring up Dr. Whitlock, or the Whitlocks. So the Whitlocks. Where's Brian Gibson? Is Brian Gibson here? Brian and Jesse, are you here? Okay, let's bring up Brian and Jesse. You can ask a question. Chocolani, you in the house? Chocolani? No one can pronounce your name. That's Chocolani. Come on up here for a question. Bronson, coming up here for a question. Come on up here. And again, any question you want to ask, but if it's a bad question, it means that I did a bad job in selecting who gets to ask the questions, okay? So if it's a bad question, you go, that's a weird question. Just absolutely rebuke it. Brian Whitlock, he's a cosmetic surgeon, longtime client, great guy. And when our daughter, Leia, got bit by a dog on her eyelid. craziest thing ever. We went immediately called Dr. Whitlock because we knew that he and his wife would take care of our daughter. She's you can't tell she ever got bit. So that's Leia right there, and that's Dr. Whitlock, the one who saved the eyelid. Seriously, unbelievable. So Dr. Whitlock, what question would you have?
Well, just a few minutes ago, you were talking about the future and that you're expanding and you're having, hotels and now golf courses, but then you threw in something about crypto, I believe. And you didn't say anything after that. So what were you meaning by that?
Yeah, it's awfully hard to explain crypto in a concise way that
rapid fire.
That Lay would. Yeah, you can't really do crypto in rapid fire, but I'm a big believer that traditional finance is dead. The big banks are dead. There's no way a home mortgage should take 120 days to get. There's no reason that you should be able to pull out $500 from an ATM machine Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 from your bank. It doesn't make any sense, right? It's not real in the modern day era. Every single week I chase wire transfers that are coming in at 4:30 in the afternoon, or that you're sending out to a vendor or a contractor or whatever it might be, a patient. Why does a Swift wire transfer take 2 days to come in? Like, again, this is not our best. This is not our brightest. The banking industry has left us behind, and beyond that, the banking industry has hurt so many people in this room. And unless you have a lot of zeros on your balance sheet, you have zero advantage in the banking industry, right? They leave everybody behind. Go to JP Morgan Chase and try and get a $10,000 loan because you want to start a dog grooming business, and they're going to laugh at you, right? So they are discriminatory. They've hurt a lot of people. They're not good at what they do. They charge you massive fees. They are slow as hell. They're antiquated. They've got big buildings in every city around the world that have, JP Morgan Chase at the top of them. Every single one of those buildings has thousands of people that are pushing paper unnecessarily when all of that stuff could be done in DeFi, where all of it could be done on blockchain. And I can promise you, mark my words, I think you're taping it. If you look back in 10 to 12, 15 years, those banks, if they don't catch up with the real world, are going to be gone. They're going to be gone. And so I'm not, I'm less into the, the nonsense projects. There's plenty of nonsense projects in crypto. I'm really a believer in two things. I'm into the, kind of Bitcoin, because I really do believe that's going to be a great store of value long-term. And I believe in proper utility, which is, how do you make this world more functional? How do you make it faster? How do you make it fairer to the average person? Why is it that, every single banker is getting massive fees, right? They're taking your money at the end of the day. I mean, if you can save all the fees, if you can save all the rent, if you can save all the electrical bills in all these buildings, congratulations, you're going to be paying lower interest rates, right? Like, isn't that kind of a nice thing? So why do they exist, and how do we do it better? And I think crypto is on the forefront of making that happen. So,
also, Spurl from Canada, who's maybe our 51st state, we don't know. He's going to come up here. He has a question. Spurl, come up here. And then Leon, where's Leon at? Thank you, Dr. Whitlock. Let's hear for Dr. Whitlock. Great job, sir. Okay, Leon Benjamin, come on down here as well. Also, Amanda Grace. Where's Amanda? Amanda, come on up here. Okay, so Brian, here you go. You and your wife, Jesse, you run a church, a very successful church in Amarillo, also a church in Amarillo, Texas, also a church in Kentucky. You run a ministry. What questions would you have?
Yeah, we're looking at the most subpoenaed man in American history. We ought to give him a hand clap for taking a shot in the jaw for MAGA, for America, for his family. Also, you're parenting, you're running big organizations. Tell me, what is it like, and how did you deal with the lawfare and the business and the family and all of it at the same time?
Well, by the way, this guy's seen a lot of lawfare as well, as has he. You got to compartmentalize things. At least this is what I do in my head. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm a sick, twisted individual, and maybe it just works for me. But you got to compartmentalize life as a game, right? Sometimes they're ugly games. Sometimes they're not nice. But at the end of the day, it's all a game. And when you see Nancy Pelosi sending you, subpoenas, when you see Pocahontas send you subpoenas every 3 days. By the way, did anybody watch State of the Union the other night where he goes, look, Pocahontas, I'm so glad you want to give another $300 billion to Ukraine. That's really great. She sent me more subpoenas than you could possibly imagine. But you got to understand it was all a game, right? And that's how you have to compartmentalize. It's not a personal thing. Is it nice? No, of course it's not nice. It's actually horrible. It's not what our system should be. But sometimes unpleasantries in life you compartmentalize as a game, and you just need to realize, hey, that's high stakes. You better believe they would have thrown me in the gulag for doing absolutely nothing wrong had we had lost. They would have done the same to DJT. Now Hunter would have gotten away with absolute murder because you have two scales of justice, but you've got to compartmentalize life as a little bit of a game. And at the end of the day, you need to win that game. It's not fair. Sometimes it's not fun, but But that's how I always, once you start thinking about, oh, I'm so sorry for myself. I mean, how could they possibly be doing this? I think you go down in a bad place, and so I always just tried to take the raw emotion out of the nonsense. I think the early ones probably hurt a lot more than the later ones. Like I became so numb and desensitized to it, right? Like at first, the first subpoena I ever got, scared to death. Subpoena, it's a big word. It's coming from the United States Senate. About 10 into it, they became like you were eating Tic Tacs. They were like Pez, right? All right, shit, I'll deal with this crap on Monday. It is what it is, right? And so, no, listen, I think you have to develop a backbone. You have to compartmentalize it in the right way, and then you just have to deal with it. And by the way, talking about the most subpoenaed man in American history, I actually want to see if I can get this certified by the Guinness Book of World Record. I'm not sure they're fans of ours, but again, if I'm at 116 subpoenas, and by the way, these aren't like little baby subpoenas from like little state AGs. I mean, these are from like the United States Senate. I mean, you couldn't have somebody stay in one of our hotels without sending me a subpoena. And the reason they did that was, he had executive branch protections as president. And it's very hard to get the president because of the constitutional protections that you're afforded. Guess who didn't have constitutional protections? This guy, right? And so in order to get to him, they just subpoenaed the hell out of me and, made our lives miserable and cost us, again, don't cry for us, but hundreds of millions of dollars in legal fees. So, I mean, they wanted to take down the business. They wanted to bankrupt us. They wanted to find one email that had a comma that was out of place. And throw us away forever. And they tried to do it. And by the way, they had a lot of crooked judges in there. You guys all saw those court cases every single day. Believe me, guys, they would have done it until it pissed off every single American. And Americans started really. In life, be careful what you wish for, right? That old adage, be careful what you wish for. If they could go back and do it all again, you better believe that they wouldn't have wanted Donald Trump to have non-consecutive terms. I mean, they would have had a president that didn't have the House, that didn't have the Senate, and instead you have a president that not only has a substantially better cabinet of all killers, but you have the other two branches of government, and you have the support of, the majority of Americans by far, obviously the popular vote, having won all 7 swing states. I can promise you they're not happy campers right now, but I digress because this is a business conference right here.
Oh, no, you're great. You're great. And again, I don't want to get the hook from Kim. So, Kim, I'm watching that clock here. So we have time for about 5 more questions. But real quick, I'm not going to ask you, because I've been studying your father. So this is something that your father might say. I'm not going to ask you about buying a hotel in Tulsa and when you're going to buy a hotel in Tulsa. We don't have time to talk about that kind of thing or even suggest that kind of thing. But some people.
This bastard's asked me, what the hell is the name of that hotel?
The Mayo Hotel.
Right? The Mayo.
Yeah, the Mayo Hotel. I keep saying just buy the Mayo Hotel, put the Trump name on it, replace the Mayo. How many of you want that to happen? Yeah, like I said, just do that.
By the way, he was pushing this so hard that the last time I was here, guess exactly where I stayed. I stayed in like the nicest room in the Mayo Hotel because it was part of Clay Clark's pitch.
How many of you think it would work? Trump Hotel, Tulsa? It would boom. Okay, so Jesse, question. What do you got?
Okay, so we've watched your family as you've gone through this process for the last however many years, and we see things like work ethic and family culture and legacy and those kinds of things. It makes you think that you want that in your kids. But when you look at it all, when your dad, because I feel like we didn't just get a president, we kind of got like a presidential whole family, of people that are working, and we're grateful for that. When you get done, what would be your number one thing that you would want America to say about your family? Like if you could pin it and it would absolutely happen, what would be the number one thing you would want them to say about you?
Well, I think maybe that we're a great all-American family who legitimately cared and didn't try and grift off the system like the rest of these kind of losers have for years and years and years, right? I mean, this whole endeavor has cost us a hell of a lot more than it's made us, right? And again, all we want to do is save that right there, red, white, and blue. That's all we care to do. And the first rule in politics, guys, the first rule, kind of the unspoken rule is you keep family the hell out of politics. It's been, you talk to any campaign manager over the years, and that's the rule. Keep family the hell out of. Guys, we didn't have any friends. I mean, legitimately, we didn't have a single surrogate. There wasn't a single senator that endorsed DJT in 2016. I mean, we had to fight like hell to win the primaries against the RNC, against the mainstream media. I mean, we had no friends. The only friends we had, family. And so it was really largely DJT. It was my father, it was Don, and myself. And then Laura came in a little bit later on, right? She got thrown into, she didn't know a damn thing about politics either. And so, we were forced to depend and defend ourselves. And isn't that kind of a beautiful thing? Isn't that kind of what family should actually do if you zoom out? I know it's in a different context, but we never broke. And I had a friend, and like the kind of the matriarch of the family, very old. She was in a hospital bed, and I'll never forget this story. This is a true story. She asked all the kids to bring her pencils. Right, these were like her dying days, and she collects all the pencils from everybody in the family, and she gives one to one of the kids and says, "Hey, I want you to break that pencil." And he just snaps the pencil in half, right? And she goes, "Okay, do this. Take all the pencils, put them in your hands, and try and break them." And the kid couldn't break all the pencils, right? Which is, together you're a hell of a lot stronger than you are apart. And you better believe that they tried to break us apart. I mean, they tried to break up his marriage. They certainly tried to break up, kind of siblings to parents. I mean, they literally went to my mom, God rest her soul, but, they would tap, Anderson Cooper and those guys would tap on her door every single day. Hey, what do you have to say about the president? Tell me anything. I mean, they would literally goad her to say anything, right? Anything negative about the president. She had the coolest saying. Even she wouldn't break. She had the coolest saying. She goes, he might not have been the greatest husband, but he'll make the best damn president that you've ever seen in your life. And by the way, she loved him to death. I thought this was like the coolest statement. Terrible husband, but will make a damn good president. Something along those lines, right? But like they had like deep love and affinity for one another. And this country needs a lot more family. It needs a lot more family. You have families that are broken apart every day. You have families that lose touch, no longer care about each other, or are so ingrained in social media. We all are, frankly. But we need the family apparatus back. We need a hell of a lot more kids in society. We need a lot more faith. So if there's one thing I could write on that poster, I think that, hey, we're probably each unique in the contribution. I'm not sure if my father could have done this without somebody being able to take over the company and run it effectively while he was away. He probably wouldn't have taken the jump, right? So, I contribute in a big way. Don's contributed in a big way. Ivanka's contributed. I mean, everybody in the family is contributed in a big way, and I trust that will be appreciated, because I really do think it's the first time in American history that I don't know, maybe not American history. I mean, the Kennedys, certainly kind of fought for themselves, right? Defended one another, but there haven't been many good examples of it over the course of politics, and certainly not in the situation that we were in. And again, as people who knew nothing about this, we didn't know anything about immigration. Guys, I built hotels my whole life, and you're on Megyn Kelly trying to battle, 7 illegal immigrants about, DACA rules. You're sitting there saying, what the hell am I doing here? Is this, how the hell did I put myself in this? But guys, it's been an amazing voyage, and one that I wouldn't have changed for the world.
Final 4 questions. Thank you, Gibson. So we're going to bring up Amanda Grace. Amanda Grace, what question would you have for Eric Trump here? We're going 90 miles an hour. Want to respect your time. We don't want to get the hook from Kim.
Hello. I just want to say, Eric, it's amazing to continue to watch the work the Lord is doing in the life of you and your family. It's just incredible to watch this just enormous transformation we see that will continue, and we will continue to pray for you for that. Twofold. One, what was one of your most favorite moments from your father's historic joint address to Congress last night that you experienced? And 2, what are some specifics we can keep in prayer for you and your family, that everybody can just continue to intercede for you and your family, because you're all anointed to do this work. Your father is, but you are, your brothers, you're all anointed to do this work.
I sat up there on the balcony, and the room is not much bigger than this in terms of length, and you've got all the senators, you've got all the congressmen, and I think my favorite part was watching America look through the true evil that some of those people are. Mm-hmm. I'm actually a relatively sane, rational human being, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that can be argued one way or another based on belief and kind of sound logic. When the animals on one side couldn't clap for a 15-year-old kid that had gone through 13 brain surgeries mm-hmm. and battled pediatric cancer, that's the opposite of what you're asking for. You're asking for, one thing that made you proud. But honestly, I think it's one thing that really showed people's true colors. It's that, right? And that there's a real sickness out there. And honestly, maybe the only beauty to that situation is in that moment, they lost all of America, right? They lost every sane, rational person. And so, mm-hmm. It was fun watching how uncomfortable they were. Again, they lost the popular vote by a lot. They lost all the swing states, right? They lost the Senate. They lost the House. They lost everybody on that dais. They were all firmly in DJT's camp. Everybody up front was firmly, I mean, the cabinet is super effective people. The Supreme Court has 6 Republicans on it, right? They have lost this battle. I mean, like, they tried to win it, but they've lost it. And I think, Amanda, a little bit to see the other side scream based on everything that they've tried to do to us was amazing. But then also to see somebody who actually cared about putting this country first. Like, what do we fight for? If you actually break down what we fought for, it's just, we want a country that's not going to be used and abused. We want to have the greatest business, environment in the world. By the way, Americans are the greatest capitalists ever. But what do we need? We need low regulations. We need government to stay the hell out of our lives. We need, low inflation, low interest rates, and then just leave us the hell alone. Stay out of our families, stay out of our businesses. All right. Give us safety. We want to have the safest country in the world. Give us law and order, right? Give us the best competitive work environment and stay the hell out of our lives. And I don't know why that makes so many people uncomfortable, but it was so nice to see that. And it's also so nice to see somebody who has backbone, who's not going to get rolled. It's so nice to see somebody who can actually get through a sentence without stuttering. Do you think Joe Biden could do what I'm doing right now? I mean, I don't have any notes. I promise you, these are clays, right? Just as FYI, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's a substance problem, all right. But I was really proud of him, right? I mean, he's had to fight through unthinkables, and again, he won. And there's a lot of pissed off people in that room, but I also think that they need to do some inward reflection of how they got it all wrong. No different than we all have to do. Every single person in this room has made a bad business decision, gotten something wrong, and once in a while we have to have enough hubris to look at ourselves and say, where did it go awry? What did I screw up? How can I be better next time? And I think you have a big part of that room the other night that needs a little bit of hubris.
And how can we pray for you? She wanted to know, how can we pray for you?
God, you really that makes me blush, Amanda. Oh. Amanda's one of the finest people you'll ever meet. She actually.
Oh, you are too kind. You really are. But thank you.
We're the only 2 New Yorkers in this room probably right now. Actually, I'm no longer a New Yorker. I left the People's.
He left us.
I left the People's Republic of New York to move down to a free state of Florida, which has been amazing. Yeah. It's amazing. You're allowed to own firearms. You're you're not paying 16% extra in taxes only so attorney generals can absolutely kill you every single day. So now it's been a great move. But Amanda's been a friend for a very long time, and she was pivotal in the whole faith movement as well. I can't tell you how many times she'd call up and, hey, we want to do an hour of prayer for the Trump family, and we're going to have tens and tens and tens of thousands of people on it. And she'd bring in great people. I spoke at a ton of them. My wife spoke at a ton of them, and she was a big part of this movement. We love her to death, and the fact that you're here is very special.
All right.
I love you and your family. God bless. Thank you.
Next question, rapid fire. Thank you. Pastor Leon Benjamin. This is a great guy. I love this guy. He flies in every single Thursday night to teach the gospel here. So tonight, he'll be teaching the gospel here at the Remnant Church at 6:30 p.m. So if you want to watch, Pastor Leon Benjamin flies in every single Thursday night here. Pastor Leon, what question do you have here? Rapid fire.
All right. Look, it was amazing. We missed our flight last night, and so we had to stay over and catch another flight. And guess who was on the plane that me and my wife was on? And so I said, Eric. He said, he pump fist me. Boom. Yeah. But I'm telling you, look, this is 77 million people voted overwhelmingly. A lot of it, the Black community made a decision to leave the Democrat Party. And I'm saying like this, Black, brown, and white unite. What needs to happen now is to force the momentum. I want to ask you the question, how can we force the momentum? Don't lose any, no sleep, no dust under our feet, to keep communities keep coming in the way of core values, the family, economics, education, come on, safety, come on, standing with the police, standing with the military, building the wall. How can we keep the momentum going for you and for your family, for President Donald J. Trump?
Well, first of all, he walks on the plane. He's wearing full Trump garb, right? It was a. I actually mentioned you in the other speech over at the Pastor Jackson Church, and I mean, he comes on. It's literally like Trump Vance, 2024, make America great again, the American flag on the shoulder. I'm like, I fucking love it. You need to stop using people as props. That's the answer. You have a party that's used people as props and taken them for granted for years and years and years, and they haven't done a damn thing to help them out in any way, shape, or form, and they've taken them for granted. and people aren't falling for it anymore. You know, the African American community, they're not falling for it anymore. You saw that in the polls. The Hispanic community, they are not falling for it anymore. And you see that in the polls. We won Miami-Dade by a significant margin. A Republican has never won Miami-Dade County before. And that's because people are sick and tired of the crap. They're sick and tired of communism. So many of them, at least in that market, has escaped it for themselves, right? I mean, look at the Venezuelan community. Look at the Cuban community. These people are saying, I've seen this show before. I've seen this movie before. It did not work, and it's not going to work here, and it's going to take down the greatest country in the world, and arguably the only place that still gives our world hope. Guys, I go over to other countries. I travel the world all the time. I've had people come up to me, and they're giving me hugs in other countries saying, thank you. You restored a sense of belief. You restored, and I'm sitting there saying, wait, you're acting. You're not American. No. You've restored hope, not just to America. Forget about America. You've restored hope to the entire world, right? But the problem is you have a party on the other side that can't, they have to put everybody in buckets. They have to. They create race wars every single day because they think it's going to benefit them politically. When the thing you should really do is just prop every single person up, create the safest streets, create the greatest economy, create the lowest unemployment across every class, right? Create the very happiness of society that we were talking about before. Give people the best schools, give them the best infrastructure, allow them to live the American dream. Don't crush the American dream. But instead, every day we get to hear from one of these, on both sides, frankly. Oh, yeah, we're going to go rebuild Baltimore. They win, and they never look at Baltimore again. We're going to go take care of Detroit. They never look at Detroit again. Guys, they're full of you-know-what. And Donald Trump was the first guy who wasn't. He wasn't, based on the fact that you had the lowest unemployment in every category that you had ever had. You had the fastest job creation in every single category. You had more people lifted out of poverty than ever before in the country. And I think people just stop believing the nonsense, right? They stop believing, the rhetoric. And so we've got to stop. I mean, for my father, the only color that really matters is green for the United States. He wants our country to be wealthy. He wants our country to be successful. And that solves everything else. And that keeps us as the number one superpower in the world, which ultimately ensures that the United States, reigns supreme forever. And you have a lot of countries around the world. I know I'm going off because I'm passionate about this, but you have a lot of countries in the world that don't want us to be in that number one spot. Sure as hell, China doesn't want us to be in the number one spot, and they'll do anything they can to take us out of it, right? There are people with really bad, motivations that are coming after us. And instead, we're debating whether or not, a 6'5" man, a person my size, should be swimming in women's collegiate, sports. It's insane. We're sitting there talking about transgender bathrooms, while China wants to become the worldwide currency, the worldwide language, and control all enterprise globally. Take the Panama Canal, do so many other things, and we're sitting there messing around. And my father came out and said, we're done with these games. We're done with this nonsense. We're not doing this anymore. We're going to do things based on merit. Whoever's best is going to ultimately win. Whoever works hardest is going to win. And that's what's made us into the greatest melting pot. That's what's made us into the greatest system anywhere in the world. And so that's what we need to focus on. Please.
I'm going to say this. God is not going to leave your family. God is going to stay with your family forever. He proved it this time around. It is a sealed deal. Your family is in the palm of God's hands.
All right, we got final 5 minutes. We got to go faster, 90 miles an hour. Okay. Where is Josh Pearl? Josh, you here? Josh, you coming? He's from Canada, America's 51st state. He traveled down here to talk to you about his governor. Josh Pearl, what question do you have there for Eric Trump?
Eric, thanks.
He's a CPA.
Here. So, Eric, do you predict that the U.S. government will buy new Bitcoin in 2025? And if so, what does that strategic reserve look like 10, 20, 30 years from now?
You're killing me.
He's a CPA.
Listen, there's no question my father's policy on cryptocurrency is one that is incredibly positive. We either embrace it or we get left behind, and the rest of the world will leapfrog us as an economy. It's just very simple. You go over to the UAE, they're buying Bitcoin like it's going out of style because they believe in it more so than just about anything. You go over to Asia, they really, really believe in it. They believe in the digital currencies. We have to be on the forefront. We need to revolutionize banking. We have to be on the forefront of this entire movement. So as to whether or not, how we buy it, it's a little different, right? In so many of the states in so many countries around the world, right, they've got these sovereign funds, these private wealth funds, and they can go out there and they can actively buy Bitcoin. We have a little bit of a different system in this country where it's a little bit harder to effectuate going out and making massive purchases. If you look at the UAE, they turn on a little spigot, oil pops out of the ground, they have nothing to do with the money, and there's a lot of oil that's coming out of the ground. So what do? They take that and they invest it all over the world. It's very smart. It's one of, we got to get to that point where we're doing the same thing. We've got so much inflows, we've got so much revenue creation that we can otherwise go and invest in assets. What's very clear is my father's going to be the best crypto president there's ever been. He's going to embrace it in a very, very big way. He's been tweeting about that almost every single day, this week, which is beautiful. I think it's already been publicized that David Sachs has come out and said, we're not selling any of the nation's Bitcoin. Unfortunately, Joe Biden did. He sold 190,000 Bitcoin, which would be equivalent to like $37 billion today, and he sold it for equivalent of like $337 million over the last couple of years. It's such a travesty because it would have been such a great asset. But no, crypto is here to stay. You have got the most pro crypto administration in history, and I think we're in the dial-up phase. Do you remember AOL? Do you remember the little dial-up? That's the phase that we're in crypto, and I think what you're going to see from the world of crypto is going to be absolutely significant in the next decade.
Eric, 5 minutes. We're going to get one question and a group photo, and then we're going to let you get back to what you have to do. Okay, so we're going to bring up. I'm so sorry, Bronson. I'm sorry. I can't weave in your question. I got to weave in Steve. I got to do a group photo, but you'll get in the group photo. It'll be a trade-off. Okay. So Pastor Steve, come on up here. Pastor Steve, final question, rapid fire. Pastor Steve, what say you? Okay, what question do you have? Rapid fire.
All right. First of all, I wanted to
One question.
One question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I believe that Trump has been called as an agent of justice. That's why he's been put in power. A lot of people don't understand that. And everything he does with justice, he just gets grace. So I wanted to know, what is the strategy for reconstructing Gaza? And if I can add, one thing that he hasn't mentioned that I wish he would and that other people haven't mentioned is family justice is the biggest issue in the church. Is there anything going on in that area?
Listen, Gaza is a very long conversation, and whether or not we should even be the ones responsible for that. I think my father's taking a very America first, approach. It should never happen. What happened over there is an absolute travesty. What Israel's had to deal with on every front has been absolutely horrendous. But at the same time, we've got serious problems in this country. We've got $36 trillion worth of debt, and we better take care of our own before we start rebuilding foreign countries, right? And I think every American wants to see that now. And again, I'm not saying it's nice. I'm not saying it's fair. The whole situation stinks. But I think we need to prioritize our own. And I think my father's of that same ilk and mindset, not to say that he wouldn't want to see something beautiful happen there and absolute positivity in the region. Hey, listen, we had no wars. We had peace in the Middle East under our first administration. You better believe we're going to have peace in the Middle East, one way or another under this administration, simply because you finally have somebody in office that has a backbone and won't tolerate the games that have been played. The games that have been played there in the last couple of years would have never, ever happened under Donald Trump. As to the family, I think I spent a little bit of time talking about family before. That nuclear family, there's nothing more important. Nuclear family is what's going to hold this country together. We need to do a better job having kids. We need to do a better job having family, standing behind family, supporting family. It's the greatest support structure that we can have, and it's critical. It's critical to religion. It's critical to our society. It's critical to the United States of America, and it's critical to keeping us a world superpower. And so. It's why I try and prioritize, my kids as much as I can. It's why I try and maintain a very stable family. But I don't think of all the subjects that we talked about tonight, I don't think there's anything more important than family unit.
Now, we have just limited time, so we're going to do a group photo. Is that okay? So, folks, let's hear for Eric Trump. Thank you, folks. One more time. Let's stand to our feet. Thank you, Eric, for joining us here in Tulsa. Let's hear for Eric Trump.
Oklahoma, we love you. Thank you guys so much. Great honor to be here.
All right, we're going to get a group photo.
Love you, buddy.
I appreciate you very much. We're going to get a group photo. We're going to face this way. Everybody squeeze on in here. Andrew's going to come direct. Bronson, come hop in here real quick here. Everybody squeeze on in. Aaron, hop in. And Eric, we're going to have you right in the middle, then facing towards this wall here. There's a sign that says, good news, Eric. It's only 1,356 miles to Trump Tower. Okay, there we go. So everybody squeeze on in. Now the way it's going to work, Andrew's going to get really high, okay, in the air, and he can get. I'm going to squeeze in now myself. Here we go, squeezing in. Okay, here we go. Is my wife here? Is my wife here? I feel like my wife should be here. Is she here? I feel like she's here. Is she here? Vanessa, are you here? I want to stay happily married. I think this is the key to success. Okay, I think this is the key to success. I think it's the key to success if I stay happily married. Is she here? Okay, and then Amanda Grace, you hop on in here. Amanda, come on, sneak in. Everybody squeeze in. Here we go. Is Vanessa here? Is she out? She's gone? Okay. Okay. Everyone knows it's documented. I tried to get her. Okay. Everybody squeeze on in. We're going to do 3 photos. Okay. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Photo number 2. We're a little bit crazier. Okay. Trump 1. Okay. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. All right. Go count down to 3 from 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Final photo. Get crazy, folks. Trump 47. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Got it. All right. One more time. Let's hear for Eric Trump. Everybody, let's hear for Eric Trump in the house. There he is. There he goes. And we're going to go ahead and take a brief break. And they'll bring back Robert Kiyosaki and Tom Wheelwright for the final session here. Tom Wheelwright, Robert Kiyosaki for the final session, coming back here right at 5. Our final session is at 5 o'clock. And then tomorrow morning, we're going to answer every question on the board. Whoa.